Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, and the entire global banking system has quietly switched over to a new engine. One so fast, so efficient, that trillions of dollars can move across borders in seconds. And guess what? Bank of America, one of the biggest banks in the world, has just confirmed they were already doing it. Every single internal transaction processed through the XRP Ledger using XRP. But here's the real shocker. This isn't just about banks. The XRP Ledger is now being connected to the $654 trillion real estate market. That sounds insane. That's because it is. We could be standing at the edge of the biggest financial revolution in history, where your home, your mortgage, your investments, all flow through blockchain rails in real time. So the question is this the moment trillions of dollars start flooding into XRP? And what does it mean for the future of money, real estate, and you? Imagine for a moment. The world's largest banks moving trillions of dollars every single day, across borders, across continents. But instead of relying on the outdated, decades-old SWIFT system, they flipped the switch to something entirely new. Now, what if I told you that Bank of America, one of the most powerful financial giants on the planet, has already confirmed that 100% of its internal transactions are now processed through the XRP Ledger, using XRP itself? That's not a rumor, that's a signal. A signal that the old way of moving money is being replaced. But here's where things get even bigger. The XRP Ledger isn't just built for banks. It's being positioned to unlock the $654 trillion global real estate market. Yes, the single largest asset class in the world. Think about that. For centuries, real estate has been slow, clunky, filled with middlemen. Title companies, lawyers, endless paperwork. It takes weeks, sometimes months, to close a single property deal. But now, imagine buying a house the same way you send a text message. Instantly, securely, on a blockchain. This isn't just theory. Projects like the Real token being built directly on the XRP Ledger are staring at a future where property ownership, mortgages, rental agreements, and trillion-dollar real estate transactions all run on the same rails that Bank of America is already using for its money. So, the big question is, are we witnessing the birth of the greatest financial revolution of our lifetime? And more importantly, what does it mean for the banks, for the housing market, and for everyday people like you and me? Stay with me, because in this video, we're going to uncover exactly how XRP, Bank of America, and the tokenization of real estate could collide to create a once-in-a-century shift in global wealth. Backstory of XRP. Before we understand why Bank of America and other financial giants are turning to XRP, we need to step back in time. In the early 2010s, the world was buzzing about Bitcoin. For the first time, money could move without banks. But there was a problem. Bitcoin was slow, expensive, and it wasn't designed to handle thousands of transactions per second. That's when a group of visionaries at Ripple Labs asked a different question. What if, instead of replacing banks, we built a system that banks could actually use? And so, XRP was born. Unlike Bitcoin, which relies on energy-hungry mining, XRP was designed for speed and efficiency. Transactions settle in just 3 to 5 seconds. Fees cost a fraction of a penny. And the network can handle thousands of transactions per second, something Bitcoin and even Ethereum struggle with. But here's the real difference. Bitcoin was about breaking away from the financial system. XRP was about upgrading it. And it wasn't built for rebels. It was built for banks. And that's exactly why banks started paying attention. For a bank, moving money isn't just about speed. It's about compliance, trust, and cost. Every time a bank sends money across borders, it's slow, it's expensive, and it's risky. With XRP, those barriers vanish. Suddenly, a bank in Mexico could send money to Japan instantly, without having to wait days for approval through outdated systems. In other words, while the world was distracted by Bitcoin becoming digital gold, Ripple and XRP were quietly building the digital plumbing for the future of global finance. And if you want to keep uncovering how crypto and real estate are merging into the financial revolution of tomorrow, make sure to subscribe to the Real Estate Scout right now, because this story is just getting started. Why banks love XRP now? Let's get into the real question. Why do banks actually care about XRP? To understand this, we need to look at how banks have been moving money for the last 50 years. It's called SWIFT. And while it sounds fancy, here's the truth. SWIFT isn't even a payment system. It's just a messaging network. When a bank in New York wants to send money to a bank in Tokyo, SWIFT doesn't move the money. It just sends a message. The actual transfer can take 3 to 5 days, sometimes even longer. Add in multiple middlemen, high fees, and the risk of errors, and you've got one of the most outdated systems in modern finance. Now enter RippleNet, powered by XRP. Instead of just sending a message, RippleNet actually settles the transaction. In seconds. Money doesn't crawl across the globe anymore. It moves instantly. And banks have been quietly testing this behind the scenes. Santander in Europe launched its 1p FX app using Ripple's technology. Standard Chartered has been exploring RippleNet for faster cross-border payments. And of course, Bank of America itself has been in pilot programs with Ripple for years. But here's where it gets even more powerful. Liquidity on demand. Traditionally, banks have to keep huge amounts of money sitting in accounts all over the world, just in case they need to make a payment in another currency. This is called nostro vostro accounts, and it ties up billions of dollars. With XRP, banks don't need to do that anymore. They can simply convert into XRP, send it across the world in seconds, and convert it back into the local currency. No idle money, no waiting, no risk. Think of it this way. Imagine you want to send $10 million from Mexico to Japan. Under SWIFT, it takes days and costs thousands in fees. With XRP, it's like sending an email. The money is there in seconds. This is why banks love XRP. It's not just faster. It's not just cheaper. It actually unlocks billions of dollars in trapped liquidity and makes the global financial system more efficient. And listen, if you're fascinated by how technologies like XRP are reshaping not just banking, but even trillion-dollar markets like real estate, and make sure you hit subscribe to the Real Estate Scout, because we re-breaking it all down for you step by step. Bank of America's XRP connection. Now, let's talk about the big one, Bank of America. For years, people speculated whether the second largest bank in the United States was quietly working with Ripple. And if you look at the timeline, the story becomes crystal clear. Back in 2016, Bank of America's name first appeared in connection with Ripple's pilot programs. At the time, it was small scale, behind the scenes, and largely unnoticed. Then in 2019, Ripple officially announced Bank of America as one of its key partners. From that point on, the relationship only deepened. While most of the world was distracted by Bitcoin hype and Ethereum DeFi projects, Bank of America was quietly testing RippleNet for its internal infrastructure. And today, we get the bombshell. Bank of America now confirms that 100% of its internal transactions are processed through the XRP Ledger, using XRP. Now let's pause and really understand what that means. When we say internal transactions, we're talking about the billions of dollars that flow inside the bank every single day. Payroll, treasury movements, settlements between its own branches across the globe. Instead of using outdated wire systems, Bank of America has essentially flipped the switch to XRP. Example, imagine this. You're Bank of America, and you need to move $500 million from your New York office to your London branch. In the old days, this took days, cost a fortune, and required multiple intermediaries. Today, with XRP, it's instant. The money arrives in seconds. No middlemen, no waiting, no risk of failure. It's not just innovation, that's a revolution. And if one of the biggest banks in the world has already gone ELIN for internal use, it's only a matter of time before others follow. And if you're restarting to realize how big this shift could be, not just for banking, but for real estate, mortgages, and investments, then make sure to subscribe to the Real Estate Scout, because we're just getting to the trillion-dollar part of the story. The $654 trillion real estate angle. Up until now, we've been talking about banks, money, and cross-border payments. But here's where the story takes a massive turn, into the $654 trillion global real estate market. Why real estate? Because it's the single biggest store of wealth on the planet. Bigger than stocks, bigger than bonds, bigger than gold. And yet, it's also one of the slowest, most outdated systems in existence. Think about buying a house today. You don't just hand over the money and get the keys. No, you wait weeks, sometimes months. You deal with lawyers, title companies, escrow agents, endless paperwork, wire transfers, delays, and fees stacked on top of fees. And in some countries, title fraud and corruption make property ownership a nightmare. Now imagine flipping all of that on its head. Imagine a world where your house is represented as a digital token on the XRP Ledger. Its ownership is clear, secure, and instant. You want to sell? Transfer the token. You want to buy? Send the payment, and in seconds the property is yours. No middlemen, no delays, no wire fees. It's not just faster. It's safer, cheaper, and it opens the door to entirely new possibilities. Fractional ownership, for example. You could own 10% of a skyscraper in New York, while someone else owns 5% from London, and another investor owns 2% from Dubai, all instantly tradable on blockchain rails. This is why tokenization is being called the future of real estate. And with projects like the Real Token launching on the XRP Ledger, we're not just talking theory. This future is already starting to unfold. Now, picture this. The same rails that Bank of America uses to move billions internally could soon be used to move trillions in property value globally. And if you're serious about understanding how the housing market and blockchain are colliding into a once-in-a-generation revolution, don't miss out. Subscribe right now to the Real Estate Scout, because we're bringing you the inside story of this trillion-dollar shift. What Real Token brings. So, we know real estate is massive. We know it's outdated. And we know tokenization could change everything. But here's the bridge that connects it all. The Real Token on the XRP Ledger. Think of the Real Token as a key that unlocks real estate and brings it onto blockchain rails that are already fast, efficient, and trusted by global banks. Here's how it works. The Real Token represents property ownership directly on the XRP Ledger. That means instead of a messy folder filled with legal documents, your property rights could exist as a secure, traceable digital asset. Want to sell? Transfer the token? Want to borrow against it? Use the token as collateral? Want to split ownership between multiple investors? Tokenization makes it instant and transparent. And the best part? It's all happening on the same ledger that Bank of America is already using for internal transactions. That means the rails are tested. They're fast, they're secure, they're ready for scale. Now, let's be clear. There are still risks and hurdles ahead. Regulations need to catch up. Not every country will adopt tokenization at the same speed. And yes, competition from other blockchains will always exist. But the opportunity, it's enormous. We're talking about the possibility of unlocking trillions of dollars of trapped value in real estate and making it as liquid as the stock market. Example. Imagine buying into a luxury condo in Miami for just $1,000. Holding your ownership as a token, and then trading it on a global market the same way you trade shares of Apple or Tesla. That's the kind of world Real Token and XRP Ledger are pointing us toward. And if you're excited to see how crypto and real estate are merging into this trillion-dollar revolution, hit that subscribe button for the Real Estate Scout, because we're not just watching the future, we're helping you understand it before it happens. The bigger picture, trillions flowing into XRP. So let's step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture. We have Bank of America already confirming it processes 100% of its internal transactions on the XRP Ledger. We have RippleNet being tested by Santander, Standard Chartered, and a growing list of banks worldwide. And now, we have the $654 trillion real estate market beginning to merge with the XRP Ledger through tokenization projects like Real Token. What happens when all of these pieces come together? Here's one possibility. Instead of banks locking up billions in Nostro accounts, they rely on XRP as the global bridge currency. Instead of property sales taking weeks, they happen instantly as tokens on the XRP Ledger. Instead of wealth being stuck in illiquid assets, trillions start moving freely around the globe. This could trigger one of the largest liquidity waves in history. But let's also be real. It won't happen overnight. Regulation will be key. Governments will have their say. Competing blockchains will try to win market share. There will be bumps along the way. Still, think about it. Every major financial revolution in history started slowly, till suddenly it wasn't slow anymore. Credit cards, the internet, mobile banking. All of them started quietly, then exploded into the mainstream. The bullish scenario. XRP becomes the backbone of global liquidity, moving not just money, but also trillions in tokenized real estate, stocks, and assets. The cautious scenario. Progress is slower, with regulations and competing technologies creating friction. But either way, one thing is clear. The foundation is already being built. The rails are live. The banks are testing. Tokenization projects are starting. The pieces are moving into place. If you want to stay ahead of this massive shift, before trillions truly start to flow, make sure to subscribe to the Real Estate Scout, because this channel is your front row seat to the financial revolution happening right now. So here's where we stand. Bank of America has already taken the leap to 100% of its internal transactions are now powered by the XRP Ledger. That's not speculation, that's reality. And when you connect this to Ripple's growing network of global banks, plus the potential tokenization of the $654 trillion real estate market, we're looking at the blueprint for the next financial era. This isn't just about crypto anymore. It's about the way money moves, the way homes are bought, it's the way wealth is stored and transferred. For decades, people trusted the old rails like Swift and paper-based real estate transactions. But those systems are slow, costly, and broken. Now, with XRP and projects like Real Token, we're talking about instant, transparent, low-cost transactions across borders, across industries, across the globe. The question is not if this will happen. The question is how fast and who will be ready. History shows us something important. The biggest opportunities are never obvious at first. In the 90s, people laughed at the idea of buying books online. In the early 2000s, nobody believed mobile banking would replace brick-and-mortar branches. And today, many still don't see what's about to happen with blockchain, XRP, and tokenized real estate. But those who prepare early, they're the ones who capture the upside. That's why here on the Real Estate Scout, we'll continue to track every move, from banks adopting XRP to trillion-dollar markets being reshaped by tokenization. So if you want to miss the future of money and real estate unfolding right before our eyes, hit that subscribe button right now. Join our community and stay one step ahead. This is not just about watching history, it's about being part of it. Till next time. This is the Real Estate Scout, and we'll see you in the next video.